Hi, it's Karen Lebo with VintageDazzle.etsy.com, here with a slightly different type of video. I'm going to be interviewing my sister-in-law, Amelia, and those of you who follow me know that Amelia is the queen of textiles. She's the one who has given me all the wonderful ethnic clothing and embroidered tablecloths and all those wonderful things that I have in my shop. Most of them come from her. And jewelry, she's given me a lot of jewelry too. But today, she's going to be talking about her own work. She has gotten very heavily into embroidery. She's always been good at it, but she's really taken it to a new level, and she gets like these antique patterns from different countries, and she buys nice shirts, and then she embroiders these different patterns onto the shirts. So I'm going to let her show you some that she's brought with her when she visits. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. I started this binge of embroidery when I took a class on Palestinian embroidery at the Smithsonian. And she showed how you can use waistcloth in order to embroider on garments without having to do put a pattern on. You can do a counted embroidery without worrying about using the fabric itself as making the count, which means you don't have to be so tight. You don't have to count each thread, and that would be hard on the eyes. So that's where I started. And if you know anything about embroidery, Palestinian embroidery typically is mainly cross stitch. So this pattern was I took the woman who taught the class was named Wafa, and I can't remember her last name, but anyways, she teaches it around the world, or mainly in the United States, and so this is one of the patterns that was from her book. Taziz or something like that, and Taziz is the kind of embroidery, and the embroidery is all done by women, and it all comes with stories. So you have stories that come with these, and each symbolizes something like a garden or a relationship or things like that. So she had the book she wrote. Wafa wrote. Her last name, it begins with a G. But anyways, she kind of tells a lot of the stories that go with the clothes. One has a picture of is an embroidery of birds, and in some kinds they're facing each other, and sometimes they're facing away from each other. And you send, if you want to talk to your friend, you send her a picture, a embroidery with the birds sitting like this, and if she's getting along with her mother-in-law, she'll send you back the same thing. If she's not getting along with her mother-in-law, you get the birds facing the other direction. So you can communicate. These traditional patterns were used almost like the Chinese women who had a special language to communicate with each other. This is a special language that these women have to communicate to people around them. So you have, and tell stories. So this is another pattern from that Palestinian book. Actually from her class. And this is a Pasha tent cap. I don't know exactly what the meaning of it is. And the colors don't have any significance. I chose the colors to go with the purple of the, and also because I had a lot of yellow embroidery thread. This fat yellow embroidery thread. And I had a fat weave so I could do this one. The next one, that. Those are the ones that are Palestinian. Then I've gone and used some other patterns. This one is from a pattern book from, where's that place? It's on Transylvanian. The Germans in Transylvania were called, that starts with an S, I can't remember. But anyways, they had a lot of embroidery things. Their embroidery tended to be in one color, so they'd either do black on white or red on white, and white, of course, that's the natural color of linen, which is kind of the cheap traditional fabric. So this, in the book, they call this the doll pattern, but I've gone on a tour of Romania, and the woman who led the tour says this is a goddess. So she is a goddess. And that's why I had to include this, because the tree, this is not, it's a half a vase. There was a vase, a full vase, but I didn't have space for it. So I was sort of, but anyways, the flower is part of the thing, the idea. She's the goddess of flowers, life. She's bringing forth life. So that's her. So that's was fun to do. And then from the same pattern book, they had this pattern, which you could do it in one color. Here I did it in just the red. Here I did, they had the alternating, so it was like 1, 2, 1, 2. You do a whole bunch of them. And this one was all the red, and then this one I had used 3 shades of pink, and that one I did all purple. So again, this is a nice linen garment, fabric, so that's nice to do something on it, on a linen. So that's that. This again is that Saxons. It was the Saxons. They were called Saxons, even they spoke German. They lived in Transylvania, and they lived there for maybe at least 400 years. But they were ethnically separated from the other groups there. After, with Ceausescu, and when Germany became rich again, they basically he sold the German people in this area to freedom. The West German government paid to free the German people in that area, so they would come because Romania was a disaster. And their communism was a disaster. So those villages no longer had any Saxons left in them. They all left to West Germany. But then they went to West Germany, and they were all called Romanians. So the typical way life is. You've preserved your ethnicity, and you've preserved. And another thing that the Saxons did was some of the time they dated their fabrics, their embroideries, and that's really, it's really fun if you can have an old dated thing. And some of the Romanians then use that. So you can identify a plate piece as Saxon from that area by the fact that it's dated, because that custom was taken up. Some of the other ethnic groups in that area would have been Romanians or Hungarians, and there's a bunch of other ethnic groups, but the main ones would have been those. And they might have borrowed that custom. But Hungarian embroidery is very different from this stuff. So, you could easily mix up the Romanian with the Saxon. And then I've been looking at other embroidery books. So the first ones were the Palestinians, and the second were the Saxons from Transylvania, a beautiful part of the world. And, you can hear about vampires, but That's, you know. Anyways, and then this one was just a DMC old booklet, and this pattern is a repeat pattern. So there you have one pattern, two pattern, and then they all fit together nicely. So you have one here. But I just took one pattern, and this is sort of a flower pattern, and use that. I like patterns where you're not drawing, painting, you're just giving a design, more of a design patterns rather than the colors. So this one, you know, is a simple design pattern, but it's sort of Art Nouveau or Art Deco kind of pattern. Well, that book had that. They have some. DMC has some very nice embroidery pattern books. So that was one from that book. And the one that I'm working on right now is also from the same book. And it doesn't show up very nicely on this. But it's a pink and a turquoise it's going to be on this dark sort of maroon silk. So because of the dark background, it's going to be the final background. And what you end up doing is this is the waistcloth that the Palestinian woman Wafa showed me how to use. And after you've done the embroidery, you just pull off all the threads, and you have the pattern on the fabric, the final fabric. And so this is on a silk fabric. I've run out of linen shirts. And I've also done some on cotton, a nice cotton, you know, a good cotton is nice too. But I try to avoid mixed, well, no, that's not true. I try to avoid polyester, let's put it that way. I want to use natural fibers. So, and this is very unfinished. There's going to be more pestles or whatever those guys are. And but once the white is gone, the pale color will show up nicely. Because in this one, you know, you were putting the white on white, and it was not showing up very nicely. But it shows up quite nicely against the red shirt. So you can think about that. That way, that'll work. So then I got another pattern book, and this is a pattern book on black work. And black work was a traditional sort of European type pattern where you had a linen, and then you would do a pattern on the linen, and the idea was you were going to have the same pattern on both sides. I didn't do it right on this one. So this pattern is one way. This is the pattern side that you want to see, and this is the disaster side you don't want to see. So anyway, that's the pattern, and this is a pattern, a historical pattern from a painting of Jane Seymour, and she has a cuff with this pattern on it. So it's black on white, but obviously this case I used the red, and that's a silk, so or orange, you know, black on the orange. So I thought that would stand out nicely and well. So that's one, and then I'm working on, or more recently, and I did this also with the waistcloth, so that you put the waistcloth around the collar, pin it on, sew it on, put on the embroidery, unsew it, and rip it out. And then I did this one using it's more of the sort of the black work kind of pattern, but I was using 3 different colors, or more colors, at least, no, 4 colors. And the black work, they also used some gold, so I tried to use some gold in that one. And this one you kind of see how I was trying to make the back and the front the same, but it didn't come out as beautifully. But that's another one that was done, and this is the real pattern, where you have the flower in the center, and again the thread was too big for it to come out very well, but that was the idea, and this zigzag around the edge didn't come out as well as I would have liked, but still it came out pretty nice. And I'm pretty pleased with it. And I had some silk thread, and so I was able to use that all up. I ran out, so that's where I started using cotton, and then when I realized that I was going to run out, I did the corner, the front in silk, and the backs in cotton. And that's it. So anyway, so that's the latest one. That's another one I've done, and that's what I brought with me to California.
Well, what about the one you're wearing?
Oh, well, the one I'm wearing, this is another pasha tipped, but it's doubled.
So this is another Palestinian?
Yeah, this is another Palestinian one. I think it's a pasha tip.
That's pretty.
So, but you know, the choice of color is important. But yeah, I'm not interested in making kittens, you know, multicolored kittens. Yeah, they can print them so nicely. Why do it? Okay, this is another Palestinian pattern, and I just used different colors because I thought, you know, it's fun. And it's the same. These are the same. You know, because here I have the pale in there and the dark here, those show the little dots show off, and here, because the pattern, the leaves are bright, the dots don't show out. So it's the same pattern. Each
Yeah,
one of this
cool.
is the same, but it looks quite different because of the different choice of colors.
Okay. Cool. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful work and your knowledge. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Okay.
And see y'all next time. Bye-bye.